Hello, everyone. Richard Fedrickson in downtown Joliet at Thayer's 158. Welcome, and I hope you, well, I know I enjoyed that flight. We're going to show you the rest of the flight with Mr. Tom Buck here. Tom, by the way, welcome. It's great to have you here. Tom Buck, of course, pilot extraordinaire, and we'll find out all about his flying exploits. But first, we want to let you know that we're at Thayer's 158 and a personal invitation for you to come on down here for lunch or dinner. The lunches are fantastic. The dinners are even better. The food is better than others and almost as good as Mother's. How about that? And free parking right next to the restaurant, so it's a wonderful destination restaurant. Make sure you put it on your calendar. Tom Buck is owner and manager of Unit Step. How many years have you been down there on Route 6?
It's been a long time, about 40 years now.
40 years. So
yeah.
you were down there when you were 10 years old or something?
No, not quite that. Out of college.
Out of college, all right. Yeah. Wow, that's something else. Well, we're going to talk about your business and other things as well. We want you to know that we have an open invitation for you. If you like, you can contact I don't know how you do it, but maybe they'll put that on the screen. If you have someone interesting in business that you'd like to have showcased here on Channel 6, get in contact with us. Mr. Schuester will put some kind of a thing right there for you, okay? Now, we are, hopefully, Tom, will be able to show the folks the rest of that flight. It was fun, and we really enjoyed that. Good. I particularly enjoyed Dick Schuester when you gave him that little brown bag that he could hold on to during the flight.
Carry with him, huh?
Yes. Tell me about your family.
Well, been married for 35 years. Met Kathy in college. I went to Marquette University. Met her up there.
You crossed the cheddar curtain to meet her.
Yeah, that's right. And have three daughters. They're all grown and married and doing their own lives. Great. 2 grandchildren, which is fun. So.
You're young. What are the what are your kids' names and your grandchildren?
The oldest is Sarah. She lives in California. Colleen is the middle one. She lives in West Virginia. And Laura is lives now in Washington, D.C. area.
Okay,
so,
great. And the grandkids?
Yeah, Miriam is about 1.5 years. She's in West Virginia. We had fun with her this last weekend. And then Laura's little John, he's about 6 months old. 6 months today.
That's great. Well, congratulations to you and your wife. And I also know that here's one thing that we mentioned, and often we mention this to make a point of it, with locally owned businesses always seem to have a great history of reaching out and being involved in the community. And the Unit Step Company is certainly one who's been involved in the community over the years. And I know you're involved with the St. Raymond's Cathedral in what capacity?
Correct, yeah. Well, I was born in the parish and then, of course, went to grade school there, baptized there, grade school there, and been ushering there now for about 30 years. So.
All right. What
nice and early, 7:30. 7:30.
So they get your autograph. It's 7:30 Mass?
Right and early,
all right. Yeah. Okay. And what are some of the other activities that you're involved in?
Well, we've been with Illinois Precast Concrete Association for many, many years, probably pushing 30, 35 years now. I'm treasurer of that, and that's a group of people that get together and talk precast concrete.
Okay.
So we have fun doing that. We tour all over different plants all over the state of Illinois and see how they do precast concrete.
Well, the precast concrete, I've read somewhere, now I don't know if it's myth or fact, but down south, not so much up in this area, I'm not aware of it, but they seem to have, and I know it's not exactly in your business, but you probably know about this, they have some sort of concrete now that they can put on driveways or whatever that soaks in the rain.
Sure, yeah. Pervious, they call it, pervious concrete. Okay. Yeah, they've been working with it in Chicago. I think Ozinga and Prairie both work with it.
Do they?
Yeah,
it sounds like a great idea because, you pave all these roads over, and then where does the water all go?
Right. That is true.
Joliet Airport Advisory Board, you're involved with them?
Yep, got on the board a few years back, and we just advised the Park District owns the airport, of course, and we just are the pilot's input to the park board.
Well, that would make some sense.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. We don't do, we have no authority, but we talk a lot and tell them what we think should be done.
But I think you're the ones that had that pancake dinner or something?
Yes,
a
yeah,
pancake
we have
lunch?
a pancake breakfast
Yeah.
at the open house. So
Yeah.
it's kind of fun.
Has it already been, or is it upcoming?
No, this year we're going to try it in fall. It's going to be
Okay.
in September.
Good
So,
flying weather in September.
that's right.
Usually clear skies.
Cool
and-
weather.
Yeah,
And that's better
perfect.
flying.
Now, the Oakwood Cemetery board member, that's an interesting and historic cemetery that we have here in
Yeah.
Joliet. How'd you get involved with that?
Well, as a youngster, my grandmother would always take us boys to the cemetery, and we'd clean the plots. Of course, they're usually pretty good shape anyway, but at the time, Oakwood was the worst kept up because nobody's getting buried there much anymore.
Yeah.
So we'd go there, and she'd, of course, tell us who everybody was, and it was kind of a nice little outing. So through the years, we just have kept that up. My wife and I go, and then Mike Sales one day said to me, let's do something about Oakwood Cemetery. So he started up again, and I think it's probably been 5-6 years. We just got going, clean it. Chris McCullum and a bunch of people, and certainly now we got other people, and I think it's looking really nice.
Yeah, it is. The
Oakwood
wall is
Cemetery
down, you can see a clear view of the
Yep.
cemetery. For those of you who are new to the Joliet, Will County area, may I invite you to take some time out and to take a walk through, a tour. This cemetery, all of our cemeteries have history to them, but this one dates back, I don't know, even pre-Civil War days, but definitely
Yes.
to the Civil War.
Right. They've got some Civil War heroes buried
Yeah.
there, and of course there's a big Civil War monument
Yeah.
to the gentleman. so.
And for the new folks or folks who have not been in that area, where is it located?
It's on Cass Street, just over the Cass Street Railroad track, the CN Railroad tracks now, at the end of Walnut Street.
Yeah, into Walnut Street, which used to
Walnut
lead to Silver Cross Hospital.
Correct. Can't say that
At
now.
one time. But that, if you just keep going straight, you'll end up there as well. Now, of course, we enter into an area that I know is your passion, and you are involved with the EAA.
Correct, yes. I got elected to be the commander of the Northern Illinois, the EAA Warbirds chapter, Squadron 4. So we get to show our Warbirds and let people see a little bit of history. And if you love Warbirds, you love to be up close to them and hear the sounds and
Yeah.
everything. So that's one passion I have, is getting the airplane out and about and keep it flying.
Well, we're going to talk more about that, because we really enjoyed the flight, and you're going to come along with us, okay? We'll take you a little bit on that flight in just a moment or so. Back to the business. So, because you're taking time out from your business day, we want to let people, we'll share them a little bit about your business. Unit Step Company, 40 years, Route 6, same location?
Same location.
Okay.
We move.
What do you do out there? What
We
what do you do?
manufacture precast concrete steps. That's our basic business. We do a lot of other precast concrete products, parking bumpers and transformer slabs and patio slabs and planters, concrete planters. And then we also do a lot of ornamental iron work. We make a lot of railings for our steps and other steps, and gates, and whatever people bring in to make. you
Yeah.
know,
So
we do a lot.
relatively busy?
Yeah, we're starting to pick up here a little bit again. Pretty slow the last year or two.
Yeah, I'm
Economy is
sure,
a
yeah.
little slow.
If you are, and many of you are, we've had conversations both on Channel 6 and on WJOL with the business community, the banking community, the real estate industry, and we do know that it's soft out there. So many of you are thinking about, staying in the home that you have, instead of selling in a market that's down, you're thinking, well, we're going to stay. And if you're thinking about maybe those front steps or the back steps or the steps leading into the garage on the side are looking a little bit, needs some work, maybe that's what you need to do. And or a concrete patio or something like that with some walls around it, or a little iron ornamental iron out there. We're going to give you the address and information where you can contact Unit Step. Okay, we'll do that right now for you. Okay, all right. I know that this event that I'm about to talk about will be finished, but then you can put it on your calendar for next year. On WJOL this morning, they were talking with the airport manager at Clow, and it's called Clow International. I love that.
Right, yeah.
And it's even smaller than it used to be, isn't it? Isn't it?
Well,
Because of the housing around it?
Well, they lengthened the runway, so it's.
Oh, did they?
It's,
Okay.
it's a decent runway, and they have a grass runway paralleling it,
yeah.
so.
Well, you're
That's
going to be
nice.
involved, and I want to use this because of all the other involvements and things you do with your plane, which we'll describe in a minute. But what would be a typical? I mean, this is a typical kind of event that you would attend. What are you going to be doing out there at the? This is an annual event they have where the folks can come in and get up close to the equipment, to the aircrafts.
Right.
Correct.
Correct, and there's a great museum at Clow Airport too, that people can go look at different airplanes and get hands-on feel for things. Typically it's an open house, so there'll be different planes on display. You can look at them, a lot of them you can get into. There's some new airplanes going to be shown there. Then in the Warbird section, we have different Warbirds fly in. I'm pretty sure that this year will be a little bit of a treat, though. There'll be 2 TBM Avengers, which is, odd because there's not too many Avengers around. But Brad Decker's flying his up from Peru, Illinois. And there should be a Wildcat there from Aurora, which is another kind of rare Warbird, and then some T6s and a Stearman, which is the primary trainer for World War II pilots. Yeah. And it should be a really interesting time.
Yeah, the Stearmans are the real loud engines, aren't they?
They're pretty loud, but they're
Yeah.
a biplane, so there's 2 wings.
Okay, okay.
So-
I know at the Chicago Airshow, they'll have those guys come in, and I'll tell you what,
Yeah.
you could hear them before you can see them.
Sure.
Describe, you mentioned the Avenger. Describe, what's an Avenger? Was that a fighter? Fighter
TBM
plane?
Avenger is a torpedo bomber,
Okay,
World War II, biggest single-engine aircraft that took off from aircraft carriers, and its primary purpose was to drop torpedoes or bombs on shipping or land-based targets. It wasn't a dive bomber, which is the Dauntless. The Dauntless was the dive bomber, and there's very few of them left. Dauntlesses, there's probably 2 flying yet in the world.
wow.
So, but TBMs, there's probably 25 flying yet, and they were all saved because they were fire bombers in the U.S. and Canada. And just this year, I think the Fire Protection just retired their whole TBM fleet, so now there are no more TBMs flying.
So instead of
actively.
torpedoes, they were unleashing tons of water.
Borate and
Yeah.
water and
Yeah.
fire retardant,
Yeah.
basically.
When you think of this, and I know you do because you're a historian, particularly in the aircraft areas, think about that. Think about that first pilot. There had to be a first pilot on an aircraft carrier taking off.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Sure.
think of that. You got a ship going this way, you got wind going that way, and you got a runway that maybe looks like it's wide, but it really isn't.
No.
And then at the end, if you don't make it, you're in the drink.
Yeah. They,
What heroes these guys were.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
It was, in World War II, on the small carriers, which a lot of people, a lot of flights operated off the small carrier. It was very interesting getting back on. It was like a crash landing almost
Yeah.
each time. But they did it. They fought the war and did a great job.
Didn't they have, in fact, I thought somewhere I read that the senior Bush was a naval pilot, and didn't they do some practice runs or something off a Navy pier or in that area in the Lake
He
Michigan?
could have. I'm not positive he trained at Great Lakes. But there are TBMs in the lake, that crashed
Yeah.
on practicing it, on the Wolverine and the Sable were the 2.
Would those planes be, they're there, and now
Right.
you have salvage people going out looking at stuff like that. Are they pretty much, for the record, saying, leave them there?
They're still owned by the Navy.
Yeah.
So the Navy has total control over them, and the word is there's a company that's mapped them all. They know where they're all at, and the word is the Navy says we'll tell you when we want them brought
Yeah.
up, if ever.
Yeah, and if they're brought up, You know, and, I mean, okay, fine, you brought them up, they're still going to go back to
Belong
the
to the
Navy.
Navy.
Yeah,
They
okay.
belong to the Navy.
Well, tell me about the plane that you fly, the plane that we see over the skies of Joliet. I know that you did a flyover during the Memorial Day service at the Abraham Lincoln Cemetery.
Yeah.
It's always emotional. I know you also flew over a show that we were doing last summer for a Afghanistan casualty. His father was putting together a fundraiser at the
Oh, the Mugsies?
Mugsies
Right.
and Great Basin Harbor there,
Right,
and
yeah.
you're flying over. I can tell you from folks who are down here looking up there, it makes quite an impression.
Oh, yeah.
How many of these things do you do a year?
It varies. You know, I don't know. Sometimes we get a call and get asked to do a particular funeral. I've flown over some World War II guys that have died, friends of ours, and at Abraham Lincoln. I try to fly every weekend. That's not always possible.
Yeah.
But
Well, weather and
weather
yeah.
and the radial engines, which this has, don't like to sit. They want to be
Yeah.
operated. So they're really good for them to fly them. So
Good.
we try to fly them as much as we can.
Well, describe the plane, and as we're describing
Well-
the plane, we'll show you either taking off. I don't know if it's taking off or landing, but we'll show that to you as you describe the plane to us.
TBM Avenger was designed to carry a load of bombs. It has big wide wings. Of course, the wings do fold up to be parked on an aircraft carrier for space requirements. So that's kind of a little different thing. Has a crew of 3, has a pilot and then a turret gunner and then a radio man sat in the back who would operate normally the radar. He could do other things, obviously, but he would be watching the radar for ships or planes or whatever they were looking for. The plane sits up nice and high, has great landing gear on it to be pounded onto the aircraft carrier when she landed. It's a big, tough airplane. You know, I think if Grumman thought it needed 1 rivet, they added 2 or 3 more just for safety, because it's really a beefy airplane, built for a great job. And as you said before, Senior Bush, President Bush, did fly a TBM Avenger. That was his airplane, and he got shot down in the ocean, and luckily he was one that got picked up. But they were a tough airplane. They took a lot of abuse, but you know, we lost a lot of them in the war. There was 9,000 of them built,
Really?
and
Wow.
25 left flying. So.
Where were they built? Grumman building
Grumman
those?
built the first ones. They were TBF
Mhm.
designation, and there's about 4,000 of those. I think it was Bethpage, New York, or somewhere in there. And then Eastern Aircraft, which was a division of General Motors at the time, built the remaining 5,000 or so TBMs.
Wow.
So
Your fascination dates back, I'm sure, what, as a kid, probably in high school?
yep, I started flying in high school, so I always loved flying. Got an early flight over some farmland, and as a youngster, and said, "Oh, I got to be able to do this. I want to fly." So eventually, it happened, and been flying ever since. Of course, life goes on too. You got things to do,
Yeah.
and different things happen. But I kept it up.
So how many, we haven't rehearsed this now, you get to grab this out of the air, or tell me how many miles you think, or hours you have in that plane? In all planes? In
Well,
all
the
your
planes,
flight
I got
time,
about not a great amount. I got about 2,500 hours of
Yeah.
flying time.
yeah. Wow.
TBM, I probably got 400 hours in that flying. So it's an air show airplane or open house airplane. People love to see it.
Yeah.
They can get their head. There's a back door where the radio man sat. So we leave that open. Of course, people can look inside. A lot of planes you can't see the insides because you can't get up to them.
Right.
But this one they can see the
You
inside
can.
of it, and we fold the wings, and that's something that nobody does very much anymore. No airplanes they see fold wings.
And I know there was an air show, this goes back to the early 80s, I believe, when the Aurora Airport had just opened up. I may be wrong on my dates, but not in Aurora. What's that town west of Aurora? With the-
Sugar Grove.
Sugar Grove. And they had probably one of the best air shows I've ever seen, other than Chicago, because they had the Warbirds, they had Japanese Zeros,
Sure.
they had dogfights going up in the air, they had artillery on the ground
Yeah.
shooting at the planes.
Oh,
They had probably close to a company of infantry on both sides fighting in the cornfields. I mean, they had the whole thing, a mini peak at
Sure.
World War II. I've never seen one like that since.
Yeah.
But you obviously have been in some air shows.
Yes, and they're all fun to fly in, and it gives the people, the spectators, a little bit of taste, like you say, of
Yeah.
what's going on.
What it would be like.
What it would be like. Of course, Oshkosh has a big pyro show that they do with the bombers go by and they let
Yeah.
the blasts go
And
off.
do you
that's
go up
kinda
there?
nice. Yes.
Now, you go up there individually, or do you go up there as part of the Warbirds?
Both. I mean, I fly the TBM up the show in the Warbird section, and gets a lot of visitors. A lot of people come by to look.
I can remember going through Oshkosh years ago as a kid, and they had a cornfield with a runway and a barn,
Sure.
and that was their air show. It hasn't
Yeah.
been that many years when they've grown to be probably the air show
Yeah.
of air shows.
It's huge.
I mean, how many folks fly up there?
Well, there's 10,000 airplanes
Yeah.
parked there, so
It's just unbelievable. I
It's
mean,
a lot
I
of
have seen
people.
this, and there are three great things about that air show. One is the air show. Two is the planes that you see. You get to see, close up. And three, the people.
oh yeah.
I'm telling you, there's some characters that are walking around there that are just delightful to be able to have some
Yeah.
conversations. Do you have any recollections from any of those air shows?
Oh, they're all great. Just friendly people.
Yeah.
They're all airplane people who seem to be friendly. They're glad to let you look at their airplane, ask questions, talk about it. The EAA was really based on home-built airplanes, so there's a whole
Yeah.
slug of different models and people who built them, and they're proud to show off their handiwork, and they've flown them up there. So it's really an event.
Yeah.
Oshkosh.
Some of these characters that fly these lawnmower motors with wings on them.
Sure, yeah.
And we have a few of
Ultralights.
them here in the Joliet area as well. Those things do scare me. They really do scare me. How did you, what was your first plane? What was the first plane you purchased?
That was a Cessna, a high-wing Cessna 172. My three brothers and I bought that, and we flew it, learned to fly in it, and progressed from that point on.
Yeah, I got to take a time out here. We got to mention Tim and George.
Right.
Right?
That's right. You got it.
What's George up to these days?
Oh, he's busy at Word and Buck Company,
Okay,
keeping that going. Of course, that's was started around 1880, so that's a big long history of.
George does not go
Family.
back that far, by the way.
No, right.
The,
And then Tim, of course, works at Unit Step with me. We're together there.
Yeah.
So. That's
And as a family, both Unit Step and the Ward and Buck Company, all involved in the community. I know George is a Rotarian. Are you a
Right.
Rotarian as
No,
well?
I'm not. No.
You're not?
No,
Okay.
that-
Well,
that's
that's okay.
George.
That's okay. That's George handles the Rotary. So, okay, from the Cessna to what? What did you buy
Then
after
we
that?
went to a low wing, a Cherokee, and then a 180. It's called, a little bit about the same as the 172, a little higher horsepower. And then we moved up to a Cherokee 6, which is a little bit bigger airplane. And then I got the Warbird trainer, which is it's a T6, but the Navy called them SNJs. And that's a great trainer. That's what everybody in World War II trained in.
Yeah, that took a few
T6
years to
and SN.
rebuild that for you, didn't it?
No, I bought that one ready to go.
Did you?
Ready to rock and roll. And of course, we're always working on it. It's always got, we're constantly keeping it in flying shape. But it's a pilot maker. You got to work to fly it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then
you want to do the work.
oh yeah,
Because
definitely.
you're flying that plane, you want to make sure it's.
We want to know. We have hear a funny sound. We want to know where that
Yeah,
sound coming
right.
from.
That's what Dick was mentioning when we were flying up
Funny
there. He said,
sound?
"Do you hear that funny sound?" Oh, we're going to go on that flight in just a minute. We're going to take off, and we're going to take you with us. So from there, where?
Then it was the
to
TBM. Then it was the TBM. My philosophy in talking over with my wife, we decided, you know, you're only certain times of your life can you do certain things.
Yeah.
And when that time goes by, it's by. You can't go back. So I had the health and the ability, and found the airplane I thought I liked, and decided, well, this is it. We'll jump and do it. And it was a good decision. We have a lot of fun with the TBM. Enjoy sharing it with people. And when I think I'm a good pilot, then I go jump back in the SNJ, and makes me
That's a
much
challenge.
sharper. Yeah,
That's a challenge.
It's a good airplane.
Well, we're going to take you right now. We're going to get back in that plane, and we'll take you on a little flight, and we'll see you after.
This is the crew entrance to the airplane. And the black line there is where the pilot would walk up on the wing. Inside the back of the airplane is the radio man's seat. And he would be watching radar and doing other functions. And there's a shot of up in where the turret would be, and the turret gunner. And he'd have a really good view of everything that's going on. His look was, of course, out to the back. And there's an oxygen system and the Mae West for problems if they had to bail out. And there's a look out the tail of the airplane. The view from the back is not too bad. So that's how the wings fold, so you can get it into tight spots. Mostly on the carrier, they were wanting to put as many airplanes as they could on it. The airplane does weigh around 11,000 pounds, sitting there empty. So we pull it out of the hangar and get ready for the flight. Loaded now, it could hold up to 18,000 pounds gross weight with bombs or torpedo or 50 caliber machine gun bullets and armor plating and whatever else they would carry on that. Rockets, they could also put rockets on the wings. So it was in World War II, it was a largest single engine aircraft that worked off of aircraft carriers. The Navy always had letters for designation of the aircraft. So TBM stands for Torpedo Bomber, and the last letter is the manufacturer. And M was Eastern Aircraft, which was owned by General Motors. So typically, this would be a TBM, a torpedo bomber manufactured by Eastern Aircraft. M had nothing to do with General Motors, it was just their designation for Eastern Aircraft. Now the gas tanks there's one in the main fuselage underneath the pilot, and there's one in each wing root. So we have 3 tanks. We hold about 325 gallons of gas. And they also could carry wing tanks and tanks in the bomb bay. So if they were going out for long patrols, they could load up with fuel. The engine, of course, is air-cooled, so we need air going across the front of the engine to keep it cool. And the Navy always had air-cooled engines. The Army Air Corps, Mustangs and various other P-40s, they all had water-cooled engines. All their Rolls-Royce engines were water-cooled. Radial engines need to have the prop cleared before we start, just in case we find oil in one of the bottom cylinders. Now, as we pull that through by hand, we can tell if we have a cylinder that's full of oil, and it would hydraulically lock up and then we would take care of that if we did have it. Get the oil out of the cylinder. So that's kind of a normal process. You need about 8 blades. We like to go 8, 9 blades just to make sure we clear all the bottom cylinders. Make sure there's no oil in them.
Stand on the seat. Just step right up on the seat.
Do a training session the other day.
Don't go into there.
Right, that's a long step.
That's a long step.
Yeah.
Center thing. And then, yeah, while he's flying, don't do that.
Don't touch that. He said.
All right. So you hang on to that for a little bit here. I've got you pretty well ready to go.
I'll set this up.
Yeah, you can set it down there. That's fine. Right, easy. Now I need you to grab the left side of the seatbelt.
The 2 big airplane engine manufacturers were Curtiss Wright and Pratt & Whitney in World War II. So this airplane was designed around the Wright engine, the 2600.
Don't do anything bad. Don't do anything bad.
Yeah.
So there's a fair amount of preparation before we get fired up in the airplane. We like to make sure all our systems are go, make sure we got fuel, make sure we're seat belted in, and it takes a few minutes to get things going. All World War II airplanes, big engines, all flew on avgas. In World War II, there was an 130 octane gasoline made, and this engine was designed to run on that.
Everything looking good, Tom?
Yep, looking real good. I forgot to tell you, you gotta flap your arms when we take off.
I'll do it. Whatever you say. Oh, geez. Whatever you say.
Oh, boy.
Oh, jeez. Well, this will be a first.
There you go. You'll love it.
Oh, jeez. Don't have a heart attack, will you, Tom?
I'll try not to.
You're in good, healthy shape, right?
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Good shape.
Good.
Now, when we first crank, we like to pre-oil the engine, so we get oil up into all the systems. We pressurize the whole system. Want to get oil into the journal. have the electric fuel pump getting ready. We primed the engine, and now we're ready to fire it off. And that's typical startup. There's oil all through the engine, and she'll puff a few puffs of smoke, getting rid of it all. So that's just part of the excitement of a radial engine. It likes to puff smoke on startup, and the sound of the engine is nothing like it. There was 9,500 TBMs approximately made, and there's probably 25 left flying today. The blades are 6.5 feet long. So we swing about a 13.5 foot arc with 3 big blades, and it's an R2600. That's the cubic inch of the engine, and our radial 2600, manufactured by Curtiss Wright. The 2 big airplane engine manufacturers were Curtiss Wright and Pratt & Whitney in World War II. So this airplane was designed around the Wright engine, 2600. To the runway, we're off in a runway in under 1,000 feet. And we're not pushing it, we just climb up. Nice and easy.
This airport is just up ahead here. It looks like nothing much going on. Yeah, there's Morrison to my left. George, still tell me when I get close to the arc, okay? Will do. And then Richard, off my right is Mugsy's down there. Last year when you flew over for the Petridge. Right, yeah, that's right. Just neat to get a good look at the whole area up here when we fly. You'll see a lot of things you don't see. We're going over the Amoco, not refinery, but the
looking for the F-16s. I didn't see them.
All World War II airplanes, big engines, all flew on avgas. In World War II, there was an 130 octane gasoline made.
Okay. Clear.
And this engine was designed to run on that. And it gave a lot of boost to the engine and a lot of quick fire and immediate heat and torque to the engine.
Eggs off.
That's all I can say. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
Pretty neat, isn't it?
oh my God. Oh, no wonder you like doing this. Oh. Holy cow. Never had any sensation in my life.
Hey, hon, how was that?
Awesome.
You got your sea legs on?
Nothing on my life like that.
Good. Doing okay? What do you mean?
Yeah.
No comment.
Whoa, that's awesome.
Well, you did it.
I can imagine. I'm still alive to talk about it. You know, you think about what those guys did in World War II. Landing on aircraft carriers and taking off. When they flew at 1,000 feet of runway.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, that was a lot of fun. That really was a lot of fun. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Tom?
Even though, you know, I don't like to whine, but you notice that the camera guy, the executive producer of the show, gets to sit right behind the pilot, looking forward, and they take this guy and put him in the back of the cockpit in a bubble that looks like a micro mini Mall of America, and with no, it's just kind of warm in there, and I got this machine gun over here, and then he gives me a camera. You know, someday we're going to do outtakes of this. It'd be worthwhile to see the outtakes.
But not to interrupt you, Richard.
Oh,
but,
don't do
but-
that.
But what you told me is,
Yes.
your seat had the parachute and mine didn't. So I remember
That's
that, too.
true. No parachute needed. We had a fantastic ride on the. It was fun. It really was. The TBM 3E, the Warbird, and Tom Buck, we can't thank you enough. Now, you do some special things for veterans.
Correct. We love to have veterans come out and look at the airplane. Love to have TBM veterans come, pilots or radio men or turret gunners. They're getting a little old now, but we still have one good turret gunner lives in Lockport, and he loves to hear us fly over his house.
That's great. Now, you had crew, you had ground crew here, two great guys, one of which was brave enough to sit right below me in the plane. Give those guys some credit.
George Barber was my crew chief, my right-hand man. We don't fly unless George is around, so he's a good safety man on the ground for me, watching everything and giving me the right signs so I know when everything's safe. So.
And then you have one more.
Steve Pagels, yep, they're both Squadron 4, Warbird Squadron 4 members, and they come out and help me manage the airplane.
So the summertime flying time is kind of like at the Clow Airport. You were there a few weeks ago for, it's called an air show or an exhibit. It's
That
kind of
was
like
a
looking.
cavalcade of planes, cavalcade of airplanes. So they had a lot of different airplanes out at Clow. It was a very busy time.
Yeah, I think it was a record crowd this year. It's a huge crowd out there. Great little airport. We're at the Joliet airport today, by the way. We want to thank the folks out here as well, keeping the grass runway nice and smooth for us as we came down over Jefferson and the houses. And I do want to mention this, the fact that I'm not exactly the world's greatest cameraman. This guy is, I'm not. And a lot of the outside shots were of you in your swimming pools. But don't worry, because the camera was going like this, so it's okay. There were a lot of pools out there, guys. I mean, I never realized there were that many swimming pools, particularly you guys out there in Grundy County. I saw you out there. Thank you so much, Dick Schuester, Tom Buck, and yours truly, Richard Fedrickson. We'll see you next time. This has been a Channel 6 special just for you.